I'm Glenn McGuinness, and this is Outburst. This week, will Canada's economy weather the pandemic?
I don't agree with the restrictions for small businesses.
We will absolutely come out of this on top.
Some parts of the economy are certainly flourishing. Other parts are really struggling.
I think Canada is a very intelligent country.
We are on the doorstep of the one-year anniversary since the World Health Organization declared a global pandemic. And aside from the obvious strains on Canada's healthcare system and other healthcare systems around the world, this pandemic has hit people and businesses where it hurts the most, in the pocketbook. And even though curfews and lockdowns are put into place to protect the general population, it still has a negative effect on businesses at the grassroots level. And even though vaccines are now being distributed with the promise of more to come, many say we're still not out of the woods just yet. So, can our economy survive this? Our question. Will Canada's economy weather the pandemic?
Absolutely. We're a resilient sovereign nation. We will absolutely come out of this on top. It's just everyone's got to, buckle down and ride through this storm. And I think we'll absolutely have a nice little boom after we come out of this.
I'm not sure. I mean, we were just talking about that in the car coming over here. We had a trip scheduled May 2020. We didn't take it. It's been rebooked for May 2021. Do we extend the time? Do we see if we can rebook one more time? So I think the hospitality industry is taking a big hit, and I don't know how quickly that will come back.
And your thoughts are on the Canadian economy and whether it's going to be able to weather the storm?
Yeah, we'll weather the storm. I mean, we've weathered wars, earthquakes, all manner of, treacherous things that are being imposed on the country. It's not going to be easy. The next few years are going to be totally different than the previous few years. But we'll come out of this as Canadians strong, I believe.
I would be surprised if any country is prepared to handle any kind of unexpected circumstances like this. But it feels like it could happen, it could work. People adapt. I work from home now for over a year, so it's like maybe it can happen. Maybe it's not too bad.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. I think Canada is a very intelligent country. It can have its up and downs like anybody else, but it's a very intelligent country. I think we're going to come out of this, yeah.
We just need everybody to get back to work, I think. Working from home probably works for a lot of industries, but in general, business, the flow of business when people are going out and buying things and all that stuff, hotels and all that stuff. I think I don't think Canada's resilient enough in my opinion. Everybody's struggling now, so.
I hope so. I mean, what more can we do than hope that we will be able to? Obviously, there's been a huge impact to economy, not just in Canada, but globally. And in certain sectors, I think it will be years before we see people bounce back, but I hope long term we do see that.
I do. I think it's going to take a bit of a downturn. It's going to take a few years to get back to where it is, but I think ultimately we're going to come out of this just as strong as we did from before the pandemic. Things will be different afterwards. I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but I do think we're in a position right now where we can, account for what's happening and hopefully prepare for what happens going forward.
And how about your thoughts on the economy?
Well, I definitely hope it gets better with time. I'm actually in the tourism industry, so, everyone that I knew lost their jobs, especially with the non-essential travel being banned. But we all do hope that, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And with the vaccine, that may be a solution to things going back on track. Obviously, our normal may not be the same normal that we're used to before. But I do hope that things do get better, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's tough to say, but I think if everybody comes together and we all just work together to stay safe, I think eventually it'll clear over.
Yeah, I think, of course, the pandemic will influence the economy. It will be really bad. we are expecting the prices will be going up, and we will pay more taxes. And what I'm not happy about is that the small businesses is really putting down, because I don't agree with the restrictions for small businesses, because it's too much for them. They can go to bankruptcy.
Yes, I believe so. Yes, I feel confident about that. It's been hard on a lot of people, but we're resilient. We'll come around.
Of course. It will be different than before, but there will be always jobs needed in infrastructure to maintain the status quo. It will be okay. I will be still okay. It will be slow, but it will be okay.
I think so. I think parts of it have weathered it already. Some businesses have grown stronger, and others, I think once restrictions lift, it'll be slow but steady, and I think we'll be back where we were.
Some parts of the economy are certainly flourishing. Other parts are really struggling, and I think the challenges there are we're really seeing the hurt come onto small businesses, and that's really the backbone of Canadian economy, right? A lot of the large corporations are still doing okay. Working from home, we have a lot of business still going to them. So I think as long as we continue with the aid going to small businesses and Canadians who are helping to really drive the economy can help to flourish.
I sure hope so. I work in environmental science and reclamation, and we're hurting right now, so I'm hoping this pandemic gets better and we can move forward with the economy getting better.
Yes, I think in time it will. It's just a matter of, once I think we get our vaccinations in order and get the COVID in place, I think we'll be fine and we'll be running back to a smooth economy from there.
I think we will pull through just fine. I think Canadians are resilient and creative people, and I think we've been in tricky times before, and I think the majority of people are keen to support each other, and in the end, I think supporting local and small businesses is what will help get us through.
There have been some encouraging numbers in terms of new cases in different parts of the country, especially in Ontario and Quebec, where we've seen the numbers go down. But that doesn't mean we are in recovery mode. Newfoundland and Labrador, for example, have seen a surge in new cases. New variants of COVID-19 have been, of course, a concern, and many Canadians have been taking the steps necessary to help mitigate this virus. So, are you part of the solution? Our question: what are you doing to help flatten the curve?
I wear my mask in public. I only see people, only a few close friends if I'm out on a walk outside. I am just staying home with my husband and taking that seriously. And yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. School is online. I go to UBC, so everything's online. So I'm basically home all the time.
I've been tested a couple of times now, both negative. I believe that there's a very good chance that a lot of people are carriers without knowing it. Mm-hmm. So I act with that assumption. Mm-hmm. Basically that at any given time I could be a non-symptomatic carrier. Mm-hmm. And I try to prevent infecting other people.
Well, we're being very careful about who we meet with. I mean, we've shut down a lot of people who are that we would normally, break bread with. We just talk to them now remotely. We're wearing masks, obviously. So we're just being very careful. We're not living in a state of paranoia, but being very careful about following the rules told to us by those scientists and doctors in the know.
As I said, I'm not really leaving the house apart from to go groceries, and I leave the house once a day to go for a walk, and I go and get my groceries, and that's it. So hopefully I'm doing my part there, wearing my mask everywhere in public places. Yeah, I think that's really all I can do. I'm not seen more than a handful of people in almost a year. So.
I'm not taking transit right now, and then I have roommates, so as long as we're not inviting anyone in this house as well, so there's that. And then I was Also, like, I don't go inside unless it's in my house, I guess. Like, I'll just like go for like walk and like I'll go bouldering, but other than that, like, I guess like I'm literally avoiding people right now.
Yeah, we kind of cancelled our travel plans. We're kind of staying at home, real small bubble, work, groceries, walks like this occasionally, but this is the first time we've been out for food in a month. Yeah, staying at home, wearing masks, social distancing. Yeah.
I don't go visit anyone. The only people I see are my dog, my wife for the last couple months. So I've been doing as much as I can to isolate myself from the general population and prevent those transmission vectors.
Myself, I always worked at home, so nothing changed much. But sometimes I receive people because I'm a therapist. And one thing that I've found really effective, I think, is vinegar. Just spraying vinegar on top, and then it brings everything down and it cleans the air. And also airing the house. I know it's cold, but for a few minutes in the morning, I open all the windows and doors and air the house.
I'm wearing a mask, I sanitize, I'm cleaning the house, we're not going out too much. Lots of walking, lots of exercise, just to try and stay ahead of that. Eating better,
Basically, like everyone, wear a mask whenever we go out, washing our hands, and just doing our due diligence. What the premier of each province is telling us to do. If it's restrictions, then you have to look at those restrictions, and if it's meaning you don't see your family and friends for a period of time, that's what it is. You have to follow those rules.
I'm following my partner works in healthcare, and I'm an educator, so we follow the health procedures quite carefully. And we are also just helping support people in our community that need it.
Well, I'm not meeting with other people. I'm staying at home as much as I can, but I also be proactive, be healthy, walk the dog, train at home. And just of course use the mask wherever it's required to do so, and follow all the rules and regulations laid out by the government.
I stay home. Well, I'm not home right now, but I haven't been seeing my friends for months unless they're wearing masks, and over Christmas I haven't seen them at all because that's what the restrictions have been. But if I do see them, it's wearing masks and it's outdoor activities.
I own a business. All of our employees and everyone we work with is working from home. We've been doing that since the pandemic started. So ensuring that when we're going out, we're wearing masks. My company made masks to support that cause as well. So making sure that we're always, when we're leaving the house, it's only for necessities, and that we're ensuring that we're wearing our mask when we're out in public as well.
Trying to obey all the rules. I just got finished 14 days of quarantine after coming back from the U.S. So I obeyed that, mainly because I had to. That's the rules, and I'm a rule follower, so I'm following the rules and trying to do the best I can do. I'm not wearing a mask right now because I'm outside, and I feel that's adequate.
Oh, definitely social distancing, wearing masks right from the beginning, not traveling, and I love to travel, but we haven't gone anywhere, and keeping our kids home when we needed to, and just being really, really careful. No Christmas gatherings, had a very quiet Christmas, that kind of thing.
Who is the youngest person ever to be sworn in as Prime Minister? Is it Justin Trudeau, Joe Clark, or Stephen Harper? The answer is Joe Clark. When the Progressive Conservatives won the 1979 federal election, defeating Pierre Trudeau's Liberals with a minority government, Joe Clark was sworn in as Prime Minister on June 4th, 1979 at the age of 39, just days away from his 40th birthday, making him Canada's youngest Prime Minister, a record which still stands to this day. However, Clark would not hold the office for long. 6 months after he was sworn in, his minority government was toppled by a motion of non-confidence on its budget, triggering another federal election. Clark would go on to be defeated by Pierre Trudeau's Liberals in the February 1980 campaign. As if Canada's economy wasn't bruised enough by the pandemic, Within hours of being sworn in as president, Joe Biden signed an executive order rescinding the permit for the Keystone XL pipeline. It was meant to carry 830,000 barrels of crude each day from Alberta down to Nebraska, and its cancellation could result in the loss of thousands of jobs on both sides of the border. So, what could Canada do to fix this? Our question. How should Canada respond to Biden's Keystone pipeline decision?
With a great big thank you card, with the biggest thank you card, like, hey, thanks, now shut down line 3, would ya? And by helping the workers that are out west that had been dependent on oil get trained in very quick and efficient programs that already exist on how they can take their knowledge that they have now about energy and convert that into something that's more sustainable, like wind power, water power, and solar power. And with a 6-month program, we could have all those people trained up so that they're putting up solar power mills like that. That sounds great. A solar farm for all of Alberta instead of sucking up underground. That sounds like a great idea. Let's do it. Thank you, Biden.
Well, I think it was a big mistake that they allowed it to get to the point where they knew it was coming, I know, but I think it was a big mistake for the Keystone XL pipeline to be canceled. And what they could have done about it, I'm not totally sure, but they certainly need to see if they can renegotiate it and get it started again, but that may be hard with the presidency that's in there now.
But I think that folks are going to have to talk about that again, bring it back up again. Is it worthwhile? Can it be done safely? Can it be managed? So I think that need to look at that again as opposed to canceling it. I think they need to look at it.
Where you're seeing like a lot of companies and investors kind of pull out of oil as it is, it might have been a smart decision on their part to do that. And I think where Canada keeps pushing for more oil expansion, it's kind of, delaying the inevitable, I guess. And it's kind of time to focus on moving forward and finding new forms of energy, new industries. And where we get this kind of chance to start things kind of over, it'd be good to kind of invest in future technologies rather than pouring into the oil sands more.
I think it was a very wise decision. I think that if Alberta had started several years ago switching over to green energy and building infrastructure for green energy, they wouldn't be in the fix that they're in now, but they've got blinders on. And I mean, Canada, I read a stat recently that Canada has a third of the oil reserves, but a lot of it is in that tar, that bitumen, and it's really expensive to process and to make it into usable oil. And a barrel of maple syrup costs way more than a barrel of oil, so why don't we plant maple trees?
I feel like that is a matter with the western provinces and not so much us. I know it comes into a factor, but we have better ways to deal with this kind of stuff, and I feel like he's taking action best for his people.
Okay, that's a loaded question. Well, I have 2 hats on. One hat is my climate change hat, and so I want to go, yay! And then my other hat is, uh-oh, that's really tough on a lot of people whose livelihoods depend on it. So I guess it's a tricky question and probably a tough one for a lot of Canadians to answer, and maybe especially in Alberta.
Yeah, that was a really tough decision. I mean, we're in Alberta, obviously that impacts us pretty greatly here, but as Canadians it impacts us quite significantly as well. That's a lot of loss in revenue. And so it's a really hard balance, right? We have to look at what's on the table outside of just pipelines, but between Canadian-U.S. relationships, it's not off to a great start. But the Keystone pipeline is really key because we're helping get, in my opinion, cleaner oil to America instead of them having to rely on OPEC. So as long as we really drive that point forward, if Biden's key points are the environment and some of the geopolitics we see, if we can help them reduce their reliance on OPEC, I think that's a positive thing.
Canada should be up in arms about it, for sure. That's a lot of money to be wasted of our tax dollars that Mr. Trudeau spent without asking us.
I think it's multifaceted. I think he's trying to focus more on climate change than the previous presidency, and this looks like a big ticket decision. However, I think there's way more to oil and gas than just one pipeline. And so it just looks good, maybe not for us though, in Alberta.
Well, I'm kind of torn because I'm not really a friend of oil and destroying the environment. However, I think if Canada has like a foot in the door and can do its own oil production and send it somewhere, I would agree for it. Because we are too independent of the Americans in many things.
You know, I was hoping Biden would win, and I was hoping that he wouldn't press that button so quickly. I'm hoping that our Prime Minister will actually step up and tell him what we do as environmentalists and how it's very safe to do this Keystone. I'm hoping that Biden reconsiders, but he's a pretty powerful man right now.
It's a tough one, I think, especially for Alberta. It's going to hurt our economy, but I think nationally we have to look at a platform where we got to start communicating more, work with the U.S. government, obviously, and let's try and put some things in place that are going to be positive for us.
It's not good for Canada, of course. It's bad decision. But I can say, yeah, I am really not happy about this.
I vote green. And I think it's really important to start diversifying our energy sector. So I'm okay with that decision. I know it's probably not going to be a popular one in Alberta, though.
We've had a year now to reflect on and learn from COVID-19. And for many of us, this pandemic has altered the way we have known things, with no clear answer on when things are getting back to normal. So we sent our cameras out to ask Canadians to tell us their stories on how this pandemic has affected them. Our question: how much has your life changed since the pandemic began?
To be honest, I was actually reflecting on this the other day. Not a lot. I'm kind of an introverted person, but I work in healthcare. So I did work at the COVID testing site for about 4 months, which changed my life dramatically in the way that I met my new boss and got offered a new job at another in the community. So that was a great thing that came out of COVID for me. But other than that, like going out, I don't frequent restaurants, anything like that. But so pretty normal-ish.
It's changed a lot with my kids and with exercising and getting out and seeing folks and being a little isolated. It's changed a lot for sure.
I suppose it's been a bit different. I'm a student, so classes have been online and at home. Work-wise, luckily it didn't change all that much for me. I was still able to go, I fight forest fires, so I was able to go out and do that still this summer. But sort of the day-to-days definitely changed, wearing a mask and all that sort of stuff, and the social distancing, not being able to see all your friends all the time and whatnot. But you know, you kind of just get used to it. It's kind of the normal thing now, so it's not too bad anymore, I guess.
It's actually changed quite a bit. My mother passed away, not from COVID, but she did pass away in April. My father had to go into a home, and he was quarantined in the hospital first for 4 weeks, and then into the nursing home. So it's been a crazy time. COVID is not a good friend at all.
Well, it's changed a lot. Like, it started the last year since March, right? So, yeah, I lost my job. And then just got a job by yesterday. So it's good news, finally. But it's changed a lot, yeah. It was kind of struggle for me financially. And then stressful to study from home, non-stop staying at home without communicating with my friends and classmates. So it's pretty tough, yeah. So it's changed a lot. But it taught me to take care of people.
Oh, I would say a full 100%. Yeah, being that I'm in a rock band. Full 100%. Haven't practiced or played music with my bandmates in nearly a year. The majority of my job these days is disinfection. And about pointing out social distancing to people. Yes, I would say my life has changed 100% since the pandemic.
Oh gosh, dramatically. Like, it's gone from hanging out with friends every day to FaceTiming them every once in a while just to finally, like, get that connection. But there is no face-to-face, and I'm a really social person, so it's kind of gone out the window for me. A lot of solidarity.
My life has changed completely. I work in the arts. I work in the dance industry, and we were one of the earliest industries shut down. So we have no ability to perform right now or rehearse or even teach. So my life has been flipped upside down.
Well, I've learned to live with the virus, and to know how serious it is.
Yeah, actually, for me, I think it's in some ways made it better. I've been able to get closer to my family, my grandkids and stuff like that. Travel is one that obviously is hurt. We haven't had a chance to travel as much. We do travel a lot, and that's been one of the biggest challenges. But yeah, not a whole lot. I think it's made us think more, strategically, I think, more as people, really.
Well, it got a little bit quieter. You had to think about what's going on. You are not as social anymore. You cannot meet as much anymore. But I wouldn't say it got worse. I mean, we are still in a great country and we get supported. We have supportive networks like 100 years ago in 1918, well, 102 years ago, I guess, when people came after the war. Nobody supported them, so we can really not complain. We get like some support from the government and we just have to buckle down and get through it.
I think I've been one of the fortunate ones where my work hasn't changed too much. So that's been really lucky. But in every other aspect, it's changed dramatically. In, kids being home from school online and not having their activities. I'm used to driving around like crazy every night of the week to all their activities, and they don't have any. And of course, my social distancing and not being able to hang out with my friends the way we used to, having our coffee mornings and that kind of thing.
It's been a lot of adaptation for sure to technology. The office I'm at, we have a lot of new green screens, doing stuff online, presenting over Zoom. So just adapting to that and learning how to use technology for sure.
Yeah, our life has changed quite a bit. We're used to going out. I have a business, out being networking and being at different events. That's certainly changed. Now it's all virtual on webinars. But for the most part, we had a baby back before the pandemic started, so my wife's been home on mat leave. So for me, it's been nice to work from home and actually get to spend a lot more time with my family. And of course, like many Canadians, not spending on transportation and travel and all those other factors. So for our family, in some aspects, it's been positive. Others, it's been challenging, but I think for a lot of Canadians, it's been okay.
I was laid off for 6 months, and that was pretty hard on one salary. My husband was working full time, and being home was tough. And just being out with friends and seeing our kids. Our kids are grown and moved out, so we couldn't really spend a lot of time with them. So it's been tough.
Thanks for watching this episode of Outburst on the Cable Public Affairs channel. I'm Glenn McGuinness. If you have any comments about this show or any other show, you can find us on social media. You can also find us on our website at www.cpac.ca. It's your turn to speak up, and we're listening.